The next bit we're going to do is we're going to do a series of fixed questions. We've kind of done this before in Real Vision, I think with you in the very early days.
Yeah.
It's called the intersection.
Okay.
Is there one person, living or dead, you would want to interview more than anyone? If so, who and why?
You know, it would actually be Jim Simons. I was going to say Richard Feynman, who is a hero of mine. You know, in many ways, Feynman kind of had a bigger impact on the way I think about investing than any investors. You know, and as I said, I really think that science is. I think that science and investing are actually cousins. I don't think that they're as far removed in principle. In essence, they're not so different. The subject matter is radically different, but in essence, they're not so different. But I wouldn't be able to have much of a conversation with Feynman about theoretical physics, and I'm not sure he'd be that interested in finance. Whereas, you know, Jim Simons is both, right? He is, he was he's a brilliant guy, but he had a brilliant career as a mathematician. He won the what was the Veblen Prize for geometry, age under 40. He assembled a team of code breakers for the NSA. And now he's assembled this team of code breakers who've kind of cracked the market. So this is a guy who does understand finance and he does understand markets, but fundamentally he understands science. And I just think that would be a mind-blowing conversation.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, next question. What is the book or books that have changed how you view the world, and how so? And also, what are you reading right now?
The books that really changed the world, indeed, for me, these are always kind of funny ones, because something that had a huge, books that have a big impact on you are really very much a kind of function of when they hit you.
Absolutely, you know? Right.
And so you can kind of say, well, I mean, for me, a book that had a huge impact on me was Taleb's Fooled by Randomness. Mm-hmm. You know, I really, you know, I'm a huge, I know he's not to everyone's tastes. I'm personally a huge fan of the guy. But when I kind of flick through that book, and I find that there isn't really much in any of the chapters that kind of surprises me, or that I didn't know, or that I don't know. And not anymore. But it was almost like when the first time I read it, a light went on. So the fact that I can look at it, and you know, I'd been in this dark room, and all of a sudden someone had just switched the light on, and this kind of the central foundational role of irreducible uncertainty. You know, this is central to kind of everything that I do as an investor, and everything that I kind of think of as an investor. And I can trace that back to Taleb, really. And the fact that when I kind of look at the book, and I almost, there's nothing left to absorb. I think I've kind of absorbed it all so much. I think that's testament to just what a bigger impact it had on me.
Yeah, and it couldn't have been a better book for now, right? I mean, Christ, this was a black swan and a half.
Yeah, completely. You know, 1 month. The world changed in 1 month. It's just phenomenal. You know?
Okay, next question. As an individual and as a leader in your field, how do you stay engaged and relevant in a world that's moving so quickly?
Well, engaged is easy. How do you stay relevant? Jesus. That's a tough, I don't know. You just hope, I guess. I'm not, I mean, how do you stay engaged?
But I mean, basically, how do you stay on top of where we are in the world? You know, a lot of people get left behind, right?
Yeah, so I think from an investment perspective, this I need to invest. I need to be investing. You know, I can't just be reading about investing, reading about the newspapers. I have to be a participant in the market. So I have to feel it. When the market's going down, I have to feel that pain. You know, I have to feel that anguish and that anxiety. You know, so it's almost like I have to have that kind of that connection to what's going on, and that's how I stay engaged. That's how I stay curious. That's why I just have a daily flood of questions that I don't have answers to, that I want answers to, and therefore that's how I spend my day, trying to answer as many of those questions as I possibly can. So how do you stay engaged? Just by being invested. That's it. I think more broadly, kids are great for kind of making you realize how quickly the world is changing. I've got a couple of kids, and they just do and say hilarious things, and I think that keeps you engaged with the broader world. In terms of staying relevant,
well, running a portfolio keeps you relevant because what you're basically saying is skin in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And this is kind of central. And this is obviously this is a big Taleb thing, but another one of my heroes, Warren Buffett. Always eating his own cooking. Always, I might be wrong. I could be very, very wrong, but I'm not going to sell you something that I'm not going to do myself, right? And I think that's almost that's a bit as good a safety valve as you're going to get with any manager. Question number one: are you invested in this portfolio as much as you expect me to be? All right. And when you hear, if a billionaire's got a couple of million in it, the answer is no, right?
Okay, next question. Some of our guests can tie their success to one key breakthrough. Did you experience a tipping point in your career?
Yeah, actually, I think the biggest, and it probably maybe it was thanks to Taleb, I don't know, but I was sitting on the prop desk at Dresdner, and I'd come down from the economics department. So I was the kind of bookish academic, didn't really know much, which is all true. The other guys on the desk were kind of seasoned traders, options traders, options market makers. They'd kind of cut their teeth in the open outcry system of life. Cash equity market makers, risk arb traders, investors, I should say. So I really kind of was the outlier. It was kind of my job, just as I saw it, to kind of shut up and listen and learn. And we kind of had this kind of conversation one Friday morning about the afternoon's payrolls and what we thought the payrolls were going to be. And we had a really long and involved debate, and it basically went something like this. I think they're going to be, 250. I think they're going to be 220. I think they're going to be 280. What do you think, Dylan? You're the economist. So I've not got the faintest idea, right? I really genuinely, I truly don't know. You must have a view. I said, look at it. Well, what does it say on the screen? What's the market expectation? Okay, that's my expectation, right? You don't have a view. You're in the wrong job, mate. Right? That's what my the guy sat next to, who's a really, really lovely guy, good friend of mine. But he said, you know what? You're in the wrong job, mate. And I kind of thought, yeah, I'm in the wrong job. I don't know. But then I had this kind of second thing, which is, you don't know either, right? You don't know, and therefore you're in the wrong job, by your own kind of admission. The difference is I know I don't know, you don't, and therefore I think I actually have an advantage. So in a kind of strange kind of way, I think I'm kind of on the right job. So this was the kind of this was this realization had a very kind of big effect on me. It was a moment where I realized that not knowing something didn't necessarily make you kind of fundamentally stupid. Lots of other things make you stupid, but not knowing what the payrolls are going to be in the Friday when everyone else thought they did, was actually okay. So I think this was the kind of a very big epiphany for me.
Who is a person you admire and why? Well, we probably talked about this with Richard Feynman, Nassim,
and Jim Simmons, Nassim Taleb. Who do I admire? I mean, kind of lots of people I admire for different reasons. I admire Alex Ferguson, the kind of Manchester United manager, who I think was just a brilliant guy. And he wrote a book called On Leading, And it's just there is so much wisdom in that book about how to manage a team, how to assemble a team, how to manage egos, right? How to manage a bunch of people who, frankly, are much better at doing what they do than you ever were or than you even are, right? I think it's a kind of really important principle. Certainly in my career, when I started out my career, it was all you wanted the best mentor you could possibly have, and I was quite lucky. I had a very good mentor in Albert Edwards, who had a great time with him at Soldier, but I'd known him for years before then. He's always been a very good mentor for me. But there comes a point where you don't have the education doesn't necessarily come from the guys above you. It comes from the guys below you. It comes from the guys that you hire, right? The guys, because they're much better than you are and they're much smarter than you are, and they kind of push you, and you start to learn from them. And I think that this is very much a kind of theme in Ferguson's book. Even though they're much better than you in lots of things, you kind of discover there's some things they haven't quite got yet. So this was he built a club. He wasn't just a great manager. He built a club. I'm no Man United fan, but I think he's just an intriguing guy. I'm reading the book on the Thatcher biography at the moment, Margaret Thatcher. I think she's also a very intriguing person, a very intriguing politician. In many ways, the kind of politician I hate, which is a career politician. All she ever did was politics. And I have a real kind of suspicion of people who've never actually done a real job in their lives other than politics. But, there's always an exception. And what an exception she was. So she's a kind of fascinating character as well. Yeah. I know, obviously, Buffett and Mungo,
Yeah. Okay. Final question. And this is probably, you probably hold a few of these. What view do you hold that is most controversial in your professional life?
What view is most controversial in my professional life? God, that's a tricky one. I don't know. The time that I felt the most embarrassed for thinking something.
Go on.
Wasn't necessarily. It was partly to do with the context. But it was during Brexit, right? And I was I voted for Brexit. Okay, I was in favour of Brexit. I was one of those idiots who didn't know what he was doing, who was probably xenophobic and just didn't understand and needed to have a rethink. Look at what the economists are saying: 6%. That's how much poorer we're going to be. What kind of idiot are you? And I think I should say it was like a line ball call for me. I don't hate the European Union at all. I can certainly see lots of benefits to staying in the EU. But it was probably 55-45 in favour of Brexit for me. For reasons really to do, we live in Switzerland. I can see how distributed power works, decentralization works. The EU is the opposite of decentralization. So the idea of taking some decision-making power from, Brussels to London, and by the way, I think it should go from London to the regions. That should be the next step, right? That was basically all, right? That was it. And I thought it was a reasonably kind of, I didn't realize it was such a controversial view. I happened to be at a macro conference with lots of people who you will know in Lake Como. And on the day of the vote, and I think the odds going to bed that evening were the bookies' odds were like 13%, 1-3 in favour of Brexit, and people were talking about it, but it was just an assumption that, of course, we were going to vote to remain, and then obviously that's not what happened. And the next morning, the whole place was just in shell shock. And I hadn't fully realised just how Remain, because this was very establishment. There were some very establishment politicians, policymakers, large hedge fund managers and asset managers, and I just hadn't fully realised the strength of feeling in favour of Remain. And literally, in about 100 people, I was the only Brexiteer. Or the only one stupid enough to say so. And my God, I just got an absolute, it was actually vitriolic at times. I was like shouting at. I was an idiot. I was a total idiot. What the hell? It was as if it was all my fault. So I think. So that was the one time I thought, Jesus, I really feel like a dummy here. I really got this one wrong. I should have kept my bloody mouth shut.
Yeah, exactly. Dylan, look, fantastic to get you back. It's been a long time and far too long. I think people are going to love this. Lots of interesting stuff to chew over. Now, where do they find you because you're launching the research service? How do they find it? Find you, website, anything?
Well, probably the easiest way to get me is on Twitter, which I kind of sporadically, but I spend some days engaging, and then do other things, but I've met some great people actually on Twitter. I only really started using Twitter a few months ago.
Twitter's amazing. It's so powerful. That is, if you ask me the question of how do I stay relevant and engaged, it's Twitter. Yeah. It's changed my life. It's great. There's some really, really smart people, and I think really some complete dummies as well. But that it's a kind of microcosm of life. There's some incredibly smart people. Connected and reconnected with some great people on Twitter. So I'm on Twitter, Dylan Grice, and also the company website, cordwoodcapital.com. And I'm the people who are distributing my research is Eric. So if you people who know Eric or who have a relationship with Eric, then they can get me on that as well. Perfect. Dylan, good to speak to you, man. Best of luck. Thanks a lot. All right. Take care, and I'll see you soon.